Yeah, it was, I'd never seen anything like it, just out of nowhere.
Sumas now, where flooding is a major concern at this hour.
Hundreds forced from their homes.
It is a brutal scene here.
500 people have been displaced from their homes.
It's estimated that flooding hit 75% of homes.
The playground at Sumas Elementary School looks more like a water park.
I'm Connor Smith, the superintendent for Faber Construction. We're at the Sumas Elementary that we built several years ago. We wanted a job in the backyard. Got tons of people who work for our company that live in the community, so it was a job we wanted to get. During the permitting process, they're going back and forth with the city. FEMA has different elevations for flood elevation. Typically, you have to be above the 100-year flood mark. They started here at 18 inches above the 100-year flood, and the city pushed back and said, no, let's go 3 feet above the 100-year flood mark, which, if you've ever looked at any of the FEMA charts, it doesn't take much to transition from a 100-year to a 500-year to a 1,000-year flood. So 3 feet above is a huge amount. So originally there was a bunch of pushback from the design team going, boy, this is going to be expensive, we don't really need it. But turns out.
I'll start with what happened. So we learned that there was going to be some water that could potentially get into the school, which was not all that unusual for us. We had a whole system, and we would sandbag around the outside of the buildings, even sometimes wrapping it in plastic. And nobody made it seem like it was going to be a big event, so that was what we did. And then we left, and then, of course, it became much, much more than that.
I mean, we're going through it, right? It's going in people's windows, and there's people in houses everywhere. At that point, it was like, we're going to be here all day, or until we run out of gas.
Connor and others, you know, they didn't have to do this, but they went and got boats and tractors, and they went to people's houses. People couldn't get out of their houses.
It was a bunch of fishermen and duck hunters on sleds, and there was a dude out on a jet ski. It was wild. It was wild. And just everybody's doing everything they can to start shuffling people back to safety. But yeah, I'd never seen anything like it.
Just kind of a little surreal. I remember going to the door of the old school, which we were still using. And I don't know why my brain thought this, but I thought as we would open the door that the water would have been sealed out. And it was, I mean, there was more water inside than there was water outside. So that was a little shocking. And I remember Connor going to check to see, you know, like where was it in the new building? And him being relieved that it hadn't gotten inside or even in the crawl space, which was, and I remember him saying it was close. So I felt in that moment so grateful for all that dirt that was hauled in, and, you know, them knowing that we needed to make the building that high, because 100-year flood, you know, who thought it would have been right around the corner as we were building the new building. So very, very grateful for that.
It didn't take us very long to kind of get back in the swing of things. I'd say a month, neck of the woods, before things were semi-normal, but it changed everything. You know, there was certainly damage to the school, but it was more what we could do to help out the community around here.
They, you know, just everything they could do to make that process as smooth and simple as possible. And it was really, you know, for teachers to see a mountain of books that lots of them had purchased many of those books that they spent many years using with kids they love. It was hard, you know, and I remember seeing one of my teachers hugging somebody she didn't even know who was helping her empty everything, and it was hard, and also it felt good because people stepped up. Faber stepped up, Connor stepped up, you know, Tex, he was our superintendent there, and they just were so caring. They didn't have to do those things, you know, and they made it feel okay, even though it was incredibly difficult.
The community cares about the school as well, right? Which you do some public work buildings that there's no ownership of it. It's another building, right? And the people, the owners, treat it as such, you know? There's no soul in the building. And this has the soul of the community in it. So last day of school, they bust all the kids in that were gonna go here next year, and the ones that went here this year that never got to see the rest of the construction.
We made it really special. They had all the kids get on a bus, different buses from the different schools, and we brought them here kind of like a parade to come into their new building and have a big assembly, and that was really, really special. We invited Faber and all the people that were a part of building the building to be able to see the kids' faces when they got to finally come back to their school home, and it was a fun day.
That was cool. Watching, just sat right down there and watched the kids come in. Whoa.
It was priceless. I mean, we were all standing at the doorway, and there, the comments, oh my gosh, it's so big, it's so pretty, oh, like, wow. And just for people who built the school, I don't know how often they get to experience that. It was fun to watch Amy and Connor and Zervis, the architectural firm, some of them were here too, and Tex, and they were just big smiles because the kids were just beyond joyous, jumping up and down and just elated, and it just felt right.
Faber gets the credit, right? Faber gets the award, but it's not us, man. It was, especially this job, the coolest project, I've been on a lot of cool projects, but in terms of everybody pulling the rope the same direction, from all our subcontractors to the design team, to the owner's rep, to the ownership, to the school district, to the community, is special. You don't get a job like this very often. That everybody working together to get to the same end. But neat, yeah, it's fun.